Welcome to Dr. B Music Theory, Ear Training Edition, number 2, the answer key. So there's a video previously that I played all these different intervals and triads and a melody, and the job was to see if you could write it out and figure that out by ear. So here are the answers for the simple intervals, the ascending intervals. Number 1 was a minor 6, number 2 a minor 7, 3 a perfect 5th, and 4 a major 7. Please note the way in the format for which this is written, the capitalization, the numbers, all that. That's not the only way that it's indicated, but this is one of the accepted ways in terms of how that information is communicated. So you want to use the right terminology. For the descending intervals, number 1 was a perfect octave or perfect 8, number 2 a minor 3rd, number 3 a major 2nd, and 4 a tritone. That's TT is the abbreviation I put here on the board. For the harmonic intervals, number 1 was a minor 2nd, number 2 a major 6, number 3 a major 3rd, and number 4 a perfect 4th. For the triads, number 1 was a major triad in first inversion, number 2 was a minor triad in second inversion, number 3 was an augmented triad, number 4 was a major triad in second inversion, number 5 a diminished triad in first inversion, number 6 a minor triad in root position, number 7 an augmented triad in root position, and 8 a minor triad in first inversion. A little explanation for augmented triads, because they are enharmonically all the same interval. And what I mean by that is if we go C, up a major 3rd to E, up a major 3rd to G sharp, enharmonically up a major 3rd, we get back to C. So G sharp to C is a diminished 4th, theoretically, but if we rewrite that as the G sharp as an A flat to C is a major 3rd. Because of this, it's very, very difficult, out of context, to tell if a augmented triad is in an inversion. So normally you just always write root position. Now in this particular exam, I doubled the root to reinforce that. So you could maybe look at doubling to determine whether it's in root position. So if you can pick that out, I just doubled whatever was in the bass, I doubled in one of the upper voices. So these were all 4-part harmony spread in usually an open voicing. Or an open or closed voicing, but a kind of standard soprano, alto, tenor, bass voicing. So augmented triads, for most ear training classes, you're just going to put them in root position because you can't really tell unless you're really paying attention to the doubling or there's a context around it. In terms of the inversions, the tip I recommend for people is if you have something, let's say, step 1 is to try to identify the bass and pick it out. You might be like, here's the bass, and then you ask yourself, does this sound like the root? And hopefully the answer is no, so you go, let me sing down a 3rd to here. And you say, does this sound like the root? And hopefully the answer is yes. And so then you arpeggiate da, 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 da. And you identify that as a major triad, and you have identified that the bass note is the 3rd because you went down a 3rd to get to that. Now, sometimes it's going to be easier to start and you're going to instantly hear the sonority. You're going to be like, that's a major triad, and you know it. So it's okay. You can either go from the bass note and figuring out the inversion as step 1, or you can go from identifying the triad, finding the root, arpeggiating, finding that, and then finding what the bass note is. Keep in mind, when we're talking about inversions, the bass note may be the root, but it doesn't have to be. And so that's the question. So let me rephrase that one more. Let me say that one more time again. If you go by identifying the bass note first and then figuring out whether that's the root, you figure that out by kind of going down and seeing if you can go down far enough and whether it sounds like the root. If you're wrong, what's going to happen is you're going to try to arpeggiate. Da, da, da. You're going to be like, wait a minute. Da, da, da. that's not in there, right? So if you actually if you misidentify and think something is in root position or something is the root when it really isn't, if you actually arpeggiate the thirds, you'll figure that out. Unfortunately, what usually happens is people will sing the triad and just go, yeah, root position. No, because you went da, 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 and that last interval was a fourth, not a third. And keep in mind, when we're figuring out what the root of a triad is, it's about what's the note where you can go up a third, keep going up in thirds and just get all the notes. No interspersing of fourths in there. So that's part of the challenge of this example. All right, for the melody, what we have, and I'll try to move my head out of the way when we get there, but we start on so, and we start off no pickup, and we just move in with 2 beats of 16th notes. So we got sol, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, sol, do, re, mi, fa, mi, re, do, ti, sol. That's our opening 4 measures. Keep in mind, most melodies have repetition, so try not to get overwhelmed with hearing 8 measures and you being like, oh, I can't remember that much, my brain can't hold that much information. Look for the repetition, and you'll see that the first 2 measures of the first 4-measure phrase and the first 2 measures of the second 4-measure phrase are exactly the same. It only changes a little bit at the cadence. This first one is like a half cadence, and this last one a perfect authentic cadence. For my music theory fans out there, that's what this melody is implying. So if we go to the second phrase, we start the same. Sol, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, sol, do, re, mi, re, do, ti, do, re, ti, do, do. And I did try to make this clearly short so that you have the 8th note, 8th rest, and then the quarter note after that. Okay? So hopefully you did well. If you didn't, spending time on a keyboard playing and singing is going to be extremely beneficial. Using websites like tioria.com will be useful. A combination of the two. And of course, making sure that your music theory is up to the level such that it can help inform your ears in terms of like what you should expect. So, hope you enjoyed. See you next time.